Hey everyone, welcome back to another Stock Market Open Live. Today's going to be, actually this week is going to be interesting. We've got Fed Minutes coming up on a Wednesday, Robotaxi event day on Thursday. 10/10, it's just 3 days away now. Then you've got CPI on that same day, PPI, University of Michigan on Friday. And then, of course, we'll start getting some of the quarterly results from some big ones from the banks, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, along with some others like BlackRock. So, and wow, okay, this is we go into earnings season. It's gonna be a big deal. Take a look at this. We've got Bitcoin right here moving between the 61.7 line and the 63.840 line. You've got what else do we have here? This was actually interesting because this was the weekend. Right here, we've got Saturday the 5th. This was Friday. Friday, we were really stuck around 61.7. On Friday, Friday and Thursday, we actually dropped all the way down to 60,700 there. Kind of rode on this line here, bouncing. Look at this. Perfectly ran up to 63.7 up here, 63.840, within about $100 there. And now we're a little bit in no man's land. Partially in no man's land because as the queues opened up, we got a little bit of pain here in pre-market trading. Spirit's actually up while a lot of other stocks are down. Nvidia down fractionally. Small caps down about 23 basis points. Yields up again. Now sitting at 4% on the 10. Really looking for, there are a lot of folks who, are like, oh, well, the economy's just never going to land. It's just going to keep going. Everything's fine. That seems to be a pretty heavy consensus right now. And it'll be very interesting to see when and if that U-turns. I mean, I think it was just this morning I was listening to one where she's like, oh, yeah, basically yields need to go up a whole lot more because the economy's going to no land now and everything's perfect. It's like, oh, no. In the face of the slowing that's been out there, that doesn't sound too exciting given this pure euphoria that you're seeing. But what's also interesting is there were two people that are usually very bullish that started becoming a little bit more bearish. Ed Yardini, for example, this guy's usually just a straight bull. And he's of the impression that, the Fed's already done enough in terms of rate cuts, but now he's starting to complain about valuation. He says he's nervous that everyone is so bullish, not ruling out a recession, though he only puts it at about 20%. He thinks there's a chance we're facing a melt up, and if we do, he would become a forced seller. So you haven't usually heard of him becoming bearish. And then Claudia Somm had something really interesting to mention. She mentioned that in a 2012 research paper that job finding rates actually explain about 3/4 of unemployment. And this was going all the way back to 1948. So it's not actually layoffs that that lead the unemployment rate to go up. It's actually a bad hiring rate. And that's actually exactly what we're facing right now. Of course, we still had such a great report on Friday, but then again, when you peel back the onion, so to speak, it makes you cry because it just ain't that great. So we shall see. Someone says, good morning from Melbourne, where it's 10:30 or 11:30 p.m. Wow, that's crazy. Let's see. That doesn't mean he's bearish. He literally said it. He's asked, hey, and remember, I said becoming more bearish. He's like, wait, so he's asked, oh, wait, does that mean you're bearish? And he's like, well, let's just say if we melt up here, I'd become a forced seller. Okay, that was his answer. And it was really interesting because he's like, the S&P PEs are rising. He goes forward PEs at 22, Mag 7's at 30, rest of the market's at 19. He says there's no bargain here. The market is not cheap. He says, I'm nervous that everyone is so bullish. So sure, that doesn't mean he's a bear, but it certainly makes him sound more bearish than it makes him sound bullish. And that's why he's asked, wait, are you turning bearish? It's actually really interesting. So very, very, very interesting. You on Yahoo Finance Friday? Heck yeah, man. It's the day after Robo Day. Robo Day! Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. What else here? People have no understanding of inflation. Ooh. Amazon layoff of 14K managers? How do you have that many managers? Let me see. Amazon layoff. Is that true? Around 14,000 may be cut. What's going on? Yeah, all right. Let's take a look at this. Morgan Stanley claims Amazon is hiring off 14,000 managers from its $1.5 million workforce. Wow, that's interesting. I'm going to write this down. Amazon layoffs per Morgan Stanley. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so Morgan Stanley claims Amazon considering, okay, so not yet, laying off 14,000 managers. So significant layoff. Yeah. Layoff, cost cutting. Yeah, well, there were some notes, I think, this morning, some downgrades this morning on Amazon over Walmart competition. I actually thought that was really interesting. I mean, Walmart was doing pretty well, but now you're actually kind of seeing some of that start coming through. I want to keep looking at that story a little bit. Amazon. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. In a memo, CEO Andy Jassy announced his intention to increase the proportion of individual contributors to managers by at least 15% by the end of the quarter of 2025. Okay. Reducing the number of managers will streamline the organizational. Okay, so this is based on a CEO memo. Streamline the organization. That is interesting. That's a good share. I see that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's actually a whole update on this. Update from the CEO. Okay, let's pull that up. We'll just look at this together. Hold on. Okay, take a look at this. First, for perspective, I feel good about the progress we're working together. Okay, things are going good. Wanted to make a couple notes about changes we're making. This was September 16th. Oh, well, this is like 3 weeks old at this point. Been here for 27 years. Culture is unique. Largest startup. Yeah, right. Most decisions we make are two-way doors. We're asking each S-team organization to increase the ratio of individual contributors to managers by 15% by the end. Having fewer managers will reduce layers and flatten organizations. S-team. Okay. I mean, Morgan Stanley is basically suggesting that this means layoffs. Bureaucracy mail. Read these emails and take action. So basically, like, hey, snitch on what's too bureaucratic so we could fire people. Oh, that's interesting. I'll write that one down. That's a good one. Bureaucracy mailbox. Send the CEO notes of bureaucracy so he can cut it. Wow. That's interesting. I mean, it's a good idea, actually. Before pandemic, not everybody was in the office 5 days a week, every week. Someone was sick, you had an emergency, needed a day or two to finish coding. People could do this remotely. This was understood. But before the pandemic, it was not a given that folks could work remotely 2 days a week. And that will be true moving forward. Our expectation is that people will, outside of extenuating circumstances, wow, okay. Expectation is people back in office 5 days a week, outside of extenuating circumstances. This is a good letter. Bring back assigned desks. No way. This sounds like a school punishment. Assigned desks are coming back. You're no longer allowed to sit wherever you want. Wow. Returning to office will require some adjustment for some. Trying to accommodate Want to thank our leaders. Wow. This is very interesting. I want to keep looking at that Morgan Stanley note, which is here. The study published on Thursday. Ah, okay. Morgan Stanley's study on this memo from September, from mid-September. This study published Thursday. Ah, on this memo from September. Thinks this will save. Oh, what a large range. 2.1 to 3.6 billion per year, I'm guessing. Well, in ongoing costs. Right, because of salaries. Wow. Annual cost per manager. These are their assumptions. Warehouse. Significant portion of Amazon's workforce is engaged in workforce and logistics rather than corporate roles. Okay. So these are mostly corporate, probably. Amazon's hiring spree amidst layoff. Amazon announced on Thursday it's hiring 250,000 in preparation for the high. Yeah, but these are all seasonal workers. So like you fire full-time corporate job workers, but then you get these seasonal workers. Yeah, seasonal positions. They're only there for 2 or 3 months and they're back on the street, you know? That's very interesting. Ah, good share. I like that. Thank you. Wonder how the Amazon's doing. Oh, actually down a bit here. Very, very, very interesting. All right. So, was there inversion of the Yoko? Oh, let's see if we're back on an inverge. CNBC. So, right now, the 10. Oh, wow. This is crazy. We are almost inverted again. We're literally 1 basis point uninverted. This is crazy. Yields. Only 1 basis point uninverted. It's like you're going backwards. You're making so much progress. That's crazy. All right, Amazon has an F ton of poopy managers. In the meantime, they're hiring a bunch more people to work the floor. Yep. Why aren't we going to the moon, says someone. You think it's time to buy stock in furniture companies? You know, it's tough. You know, furniture is so competitive, and it's such a direct outcome of manufacturing, which is basically in deflation. I think furniture has substantial lack of pricing power right now. I mean, even restoration hardware is dumping prices, right? It's crazy. Let's see here. Okay, personally, oh, where to go? Personally, I'm not worried right now, says someone. Okay. More early next year. I'll ride to the end of the rally and sell some before January, says Alexander the Great. Okay, good perspective. Let's see here. Yeah, closer and closer to Powell's curve. Yeah, I mean, you're 1 basis point right now. Feels like inversion on bullish. What do you think? It's bad. You don't want to go back into inversion. It just means you basically kick the can down the road on either getting through recession or avoiding it. I've been driving for UPS for 18 years, and yeah, I have 20 supervisors and 3 managers. Wow. Yikes. That's pretty bureaucratic. Hoteling. You sit wherever and work isn't really effective. Yeah, I mean, I do think having an assigned seat is kind of nice because, if you have your little can of pens, you don't always have to bring pens with you. Yeah, very interesting. 5-year break even. Oh yeah, let me look at I want to look at the 10-year break even too, because that's been rising up. Partly because people think there's this second wave of inflation is coming, or you have a no landing in markets, which I think is totally loony. Uh, but that's okay. It'll take a moment. Curve is acting like late 2006. It is. It's actually true because you were 20 basis points uninverted, and then you actually went back to inverted, and that was all obviously before 2007. And yeah, it does take longer to get to what was that? There we go. Okay, come on. Takes longer to get to the point where you're okay, that's there's that working? Oh, that's not working. Okay, let me try this. To where you get to a recessionary level. Recessionary level is usually 50 to 90 basis points uninverted. We're not quite there yet. Actually, we're quite a bit off. 2006 on the table? Yeah, no kidding. So, Kevin, I just moved to Paris. Do you think it's best to buy or rent a property? Median rent's around 1,500. Similar home would be around 500K. Wow. Well, I mean, obviously, it sounds like you're saving money on renting, but Paris, that's awesome. Good for you. Uh, I mean, I'm always a big fan of answering that question with how good of a deal can you get. Well, so, like, you gonna buy something at market value, or can you get something at a big fat discount? Right? Furniture is for the rich. Don't worry about it. Go buy IKEA furniture. Kevin, you have Alexander the Great and Winston Churchill as advisors. There you go. Exactly. Why did mortgage rates go up if the Fed cut? Yeah, over anticipation of rate cuts, and now fears that there's going to be a second wave of inflation, and fears that the economy is going way stronger than it likely is. The seasonal adjustments there for government workers. That's crazy. I mean, what do you think about it? What would you think if your employees wanted to unionize? Well, I have no idea. Probably far from that. Yeah. Is it deflation we're facing, or more likely inflation with geopolitics? Well, it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, there's a balance there. Manufacturing is almost certainly in deflation. Geopolitics is leading people to think there's inflation for sure, but I think that's going to be short lived. I think everybody right now is like on thin ice because they're worried about Israel's counterstrike. I hereby declare recessions illegal. Yeah, there are actually a lot of people who are like, oh, the what's it called? What am I trying to say? Like on social media that are like, there will never be a recession again. I'm like, okay, you have not lived through a recession. Yeah, Deadpool loves IKEA. Let's go. Big fan of Deadpool. I think it's a good. The first one's the best, as usual. Powell stayed in his position to help them win the election. Oh no. Oh no. Check what happened during COVID. Oh yeah, well, we're not gonna get a COVID reaction again. My expectation. I think everybody sort of learned their lesson of money printing that crazily during COVID. That unfortunately probably killed the opportunity for that. So now, when you face a real recession, Fed's probably going to move slower to bail it out, as it kind of is setting up for right now. In this, I don't know how 785,000 seasonally adjusted government jobs all of a sudden are a signal of the economy's doing great. They're That sounds like a scam.
Candidate's economic plans. Join us right now, former Council of Economic Advisors Chairman Jason Furman. He's a professor at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and former Congressional Budget Office Director Douglas Holtz-Eakin. He's president of the American Action Forum. I was actually going to say, did you see the Marco Rubio tweets over the weekend claiming that these, that somehow these jobs numbers were sort of artificially inflated? Jason, I was curious what you thought of those numbers themselves and maybe what some of those accusations.
It's just sad when people respond to the jobs numbers that way. It's obviously incredibly nonpartisan, upfront people doing this. And interestingly, there actually was upward revisions to the previous 2 months. My hope is that they figured out whatever was causing the negative revision after negative revision and started to fix it. I'm not sure they have or not. But that's the type of thing they try to do. In terms of the number, yeah, it really changed the narrative that had been established 2 months ago when we saw the unemployment rate spike. There always was some temporary noise, temporary layoffs, hurricane, et cetera, going on then. And with 2 more months of data, the labor market looks, full speed ahead.
And is your sense that this changes the outlook for Jay Powell?
Oh, certainly. I mean, it went from, is it going to be 25 or 50 at the next meeting, to is he even going to cut rates at the next meeting? Inflation is still way below where it was a year or two ago, and so rates should be way below.
Let's look at the odds really quick. Oh, wow. We are now only pricing in an 88% chance of a 25. We are now pricing in less than 1 rate cut for the next meeting. That's crazy.
Hey, Doug, if you were teaching an economics class, how would you grade this economy?
This economy is in very good shape in the near term, Andrew. There's no question about that. I think Friday's report was really good for the Fed. They had shifted the attention to the employment growth part of the mandate. That was a very strong report. It says that you don't have to worry as much about it as you might have thought, and they can continue to be looking at both the inflation and the employment mandate. I think it takes 50 basis points off the table, but I don't see them not cutting. They don't like to start and stop policy. So, I think they've signaled pretty clearly 25 basis points going forward. I was in the camp that thought they could do 25 to begin with. This just takes all the 50s off the table for the foreseeable future. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on the CPI report this week. I mean, they have made the case that inflation will return to the 2% target and remain there. And, core CPI is still anticipated to be 3.2 year over year, and getting it to 2 remains, in my view, an unfinished task. So they still have some work to do on the inflation front.
Jason, what do you think about the arguments that have been made? And these are political arguments, but maybe you'd argue they're economic arguments just about wages, that wages ultimately have not kept up with inflation, depending on what date you start at. Steve Leisman was here on Friday and used 2020 when the pandemic began as the date. Others have used when President Biden
he did pre-pandemic.
was named the president. He was doing it pre-pandemic.
2019.
Right.
Yeah. It's up since then, but it's
and
down.
And how you think that the American public should think about that?
Yeah, so I think the 3 facts that are correct are: number 1, wages are up faster than inflation. Number 2, a lot of those gains were in the year 2020. Number 3, even those gains are less than the normal pace. And I'll give you a bonus fact. Number 4, there are larger gains for workers who have lower wages than for workers who have higher wages. So there's been some compression of the wage distribution.
You're saying if you include the 2020 period?
If you include the 2020 period, yes, that last point included the 2020 period, which is when a lot of these real wage gains were. So, yeah, I think there's some reason for people to...
Is it just me, or do some of these economists have their heads buried in their sand? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes the anticipations there are a little like they're drinking Kool-Aid, eh? So.
But I think in some sense, they're not all the way out. When I say not all the way out, that's relative to trend.
Saying this economy is in good shape and there's no question about it is the greatest gaslighting I've seen. Yeah, no kidding. Like, I think you're kind of, like, you have to be kind of blind not to at least acknowledge some of the pain there is. And honestly, like, credit to this, I think Claudia Sahm has kind of lost it in that, like, you have a rule, you say your rule is great, and then as soon as your rule triggers, you're like, no, my rule is broken. This this administration is doing fine. Then it kind of makes me go, oh, okay. Are you trying to get like a role in Kamala Harris's admin here, to where now all of a sudden you have to say everything's great and your rule's broken? But in fairness, she did have an op-ed this morning that did highlight some dangers that nobody else had really been highlighting. That it's the lack of hiring that really destroys the unemployment rate, not so much the layoffs. And that's actually what we're starting to see here. So balance in some of these people's perspective, I think, is very, very, very important. And it's surprisingly difficult to find somebody with a balanced POV. So I'll try my best.
Spread out because it's so large, and that could affect the GDP, shopping data, everything going into November. I mean, nobody in the Asheville area is going out and buying a lot of stuff right now, and that could be true in Tampa. So you could see some impacts on the data going forward.
Also, couldn't the hurricane impact the next jobs report?
It could, certainly. It's going to. Certainly, anybody in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee has probably not been working, at least on a regular payroll. And then we'll see what happens with with Milton and what it does, because it's going to hit right before the survey week. Survey week is next week for October payrolls.
The chairman alluded to this recently, the importance of the beige book. Is it taking on even more importance now for you?
Well, it does, because it's the only thing we get from them. They're always talking to CEOs, business people, and ordinary people in their districts, and getting a sense of what is coming ahead. What do the companies see in terms of sales prospects, revenues, and hiring? And they put that into the beige book in a very truncated form, but it does give Wall Street and Fed watchers something to go on.
Whose region is this? Is it Bostic? Is it mostly Bostic, where the hurricanes hit?
Mostly Bostic, but also Barkin from Richmond.
Okay, so two speakers to watch potentially this week on that issue. Mike, appreciate it. Mike McKee on the latest. Big week ahead. Lots of Fed speak, lots of data. Tomorrow, here's the lineup for you. Fantastic lineup right here on Bloomberg Surveillance. We'll speak to Jack Caffrey of JP Morgan, Mohammed Al-Aaron of Queen's College, Cambridge, Tom Porcelli of PGIM, and Mark Cabana of Bank of America. And then this one, 9:30 Eastern Time. Do not miss this. Bramo sitting down for an interview with the JP Morgan Chase chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon, just a few days before those earnings drop on Friday.
Ooh, that's tomorrow. Jamie. Oh, Jamie. We need more Jamie Dimon. Let me see what other earnings we have this week. So I know we have bank earnings, but I want to see what else we have coming up. Bank earnings starting will be really entertaining, I think. It's also kind of mind-blowing. The market's now unpricing cuts at all in the next meeting. Okay. So we have, Pepsi reports on Tuesday. I'll write that down. So Tuesday, that's tomorrow. So that's 10:08 Pepsi reports. Okay. And that's going to be, I think that's an AM. Yeah. 6 a.m. Eastern. Okay, then we've got... None of these are really recognizable. Oh, Delta and Domino's. They report on Thursday before the open. Delta and Domino's. Okay. Then Friday, JPM, Wells, BlackRock, Bank of New York, Mellon. I guess we'll write them down. Bank of New York, Mellon. There we go. Okay. And it's not until Monday or Tuesday of next week, I think, we start getting some more entertainment. Schwab next Monday. Then you get into Walgreens, Bank of America City, United, ASML next week. TSMC. Ooh. I'll write down some of those. Next week, Citi, B of A, ASML, TSMC. Walgreens. Poor Walgreens. Oh, and Netflix. Netflix is next Thursday. That's going to be a big one. It always seems to lead. American Express. Ally Financial. Might see some on car landing there. Or lending. They always seem to tell you about weakness in the consumer. Okay. Very well. Let's see what else we got here. Somebody says, buying Roku calls. Somebody else says, job gains of 7RK. Everything is fine, y'all. Gonna be choppy trending down, in my opinion, says Winston Churchill. Ooh. Kevin, I'm getting married this coming Sunday. Any words of wisdom? Oh, well, congratulations. It's really cool. Words of wisdom. I don't know, like a financial, like a relationship advice, dude. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. What? Somebody else give some suggestions here. The word of wisdom guy. I don't know. For me, it's like you're always gonna have ups and downs, but as long as you stay the course together, it's I think well worth it. It certainly has been for us. It's so easy to give up, you know. But that's true of everything. It's true of a job. It's true of a career. It's true of a project. It's true of you know, a plan, whatever. It's the easiest thing is giving up. So let's see here. What about Tesla? Let's touch on Tesla a little bit. This looks like there's some potential. Let's see here what the Doomers think. Doomberg expectations. All right, so they think that Robotaxi Day could surface a compact vehicle prototype, fully equipped. Okay, now you're setting the expectations with Robotaxi capabilities. Okay. Expect more full self-driving examples. Okay. Actually, Smart Summon shows it driving pretty well in private areas. Lack of clear framework, though, on regulatory hurdles. Pilot testing in friendly states could be important. Okay, let's write that down. Critical will be pilot testing in specific states. Robotaxi could be the 25K model launch. Ooh, finally. 25K model launch. Maybe. I've heard a lot of people talking about that. Initial manufacturing of less costly vehicle in the US, followed by scaling elsewhere. Likely to launch with US manufacturing first. Yeah, you really need that something to like get sales going again. Optimus progress. That'll be cool. You know, in the unboxed manufacturing. Get rid of the assembly line. Okay, well, there's just some expectations. Yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly new there. So far as expected. Israel's choice of Iran target may determine global oil impact. Yeah, that's a good point. Oil up on Israeli counterstrike fears. Yeah, I think you've got... Iranian oil assets may be among the targets for Israel's response. Specifically, Karg Island. Karg Island. Island. It's always funny how island is spelled. Exports 90% of Iran's 1.7 million barrels a day. How crazy is that, by the way? 1.7, like, I'm gonna think to myself, like, if I put together 1 barrel of oil a day, it seems like that'd be cool. But they're pumping so much, they're filling up 1.7 million barrels a day. There's just got to be many different facilities. But let's take a look at that island. Karg Island. There you go. Look at that. Karg Island. Ooh, looks like the perfect place to bomb and avoid civilian casualties, huh? Wow, look at all the cooling fans here. Bunch of pipes everywhere. Do they have this? No, of course they don't have street view. That'd be too cool. Picture? Tourist attraction. I think the only way to get here is by boat or ship. Yeah, your little shipping dock over here. Boy, they just hit the dock over here. It'll be hard to get stuff out of here. Looks like this might be where some people sleep. Oh no, that looks like these are just hunks of metal. This would be more of, this almost looks like some kind of little palace. Fire truck station. Wow. Jeez. It's kind of interesting. It certainly seems like a pretty obvious target. Oh, they have an airport over here. Okay, yeah, and then here are like the little residences in the town. Oh, well, that makes it pretty easy. Don't strike the residences. Go for the oil side. Wow, look at that. This little island. You know, this reminds me of like Age of Empires. And it's like all the gold is on like, the leftover gold on the map is on one little island. Just gotta raid that sucker. Boy, yeah, that seems like a great place to go. What's over here? A beach. Yeah, it's a private island. Doesn't look like there are a lot of resources on there. Somebody made a crop circle and everybody else has already chopped all the trees. Darn. Yeah, see, that looks like a deforested Age of Empires map. This one at least still has some resources. Let's see if there are other pictures. Card Island. Let's look at some pictures. I don't really have pictures. Oh, there you go. Wow. Whole island dedicated to oil. Battlefield 3? Karg Island in Minecraft? Oh, that's kind of funny. Well, seems like a pretty reasonable target to me. Wow, Persian Gulf. Crazy. All right. What are they talking about? Fed talk over here.
Talia Knežević a little bit later, and she's going to tell us that funds have exited their Mag 7 positions, or at least they got out of some of them last week. Is it better to get into, the S&P 493?
Oh, it is. This is, we've seen the big tech trade do well, and we believe in it from a long-term perspective, so it's a strategic asset allocation positioning for us. But if you have a solid economic backdrop coupled up with...
Yeah, if the bond market predicted COVID before it happened, maybe there's a reason yields aren't falling that people are talking about. Ooh. Well, it's the inversion that's more of the concern, right? Because the bond market's trying to price in Fed action. And then when you invert based on that Fed action, you're basically pricing in a policy mistake. I think that's what's happening.
The economy responds. But certainly over the next 6 months, I think there's a lot of opportunities outside of those Mag 7.
Well, let's talk about, of course, how earnings season factors into that call, that broadening out that you're looking.
Someone says here, they're supposed to fly to Orlando on Thursday. Should I cancel due to the storm? I think the storm will be passed by Thursday. Let me look.
Smaller companies in the market struggling under those debt burdens. When you look ahead to the earnings season that kicks off on Friday, of course, with the big banks, but looking beyond that, are you expecting to see results, fundamentals that justify the valuations?
I think we should see some fairly positive numbers. I think expectations, as you'd expect, are starting to come down ahead of the earnings season as exactly what you'd typically.
I guess it depends when your flight is. Is it later in the day or what? But look at this. It looks like it's going to make landfall as like a category 3 or 4 between Fort Myers here and Tampa here. Orlando's over here. So 1 a.m. Thursday, you'll still be in the mess. But my guess is by Thursday evening, most of it will be passed. So I guess it depends what you're going to Orlando for. Yeah. The later your flight is, the better, it seems.
season?
Yeah, absolutely. So we like financials, we like industrials. I think there's a lot of opportunities in there. Broadly speaking, though, wherever you're going, we're still thinking about high quality, right? So it's high quality within your sectors, within your cap sizes. I still think that's key because, fine, we've had a good number on Friday, but the long-term trajectory we still think is a slower economy. So it still makes sense to be focusing on the parts of the market, the companies which do look like they have the good cash buffers, maybe stronger margins, cash balances that can withstand any kind of risks over the coming months.
When you say high quality, I think about staying away from the Russell 2000. I've heard some investors, well, call it kind of junky. What do you think about the smaller caps?
So it's an interesting story, and I think everyone's gone round and round on this one because typically, like a slower economic environment is not great for small caps. We know that. But we've just had some pretty good news on Friday, which we think, as I said, it's a slowing economy, but it's still positive growth. And then you've got the rate cuts. But on top of that, there's a valuation story, which is really important right now. Valuations had been, it's moved certainly a fair amount over the summer, but valuations had been so attractive relative to large caps that you just needed a bit of a fundamental push to see the swing. Now, whether or not it's extended beyond December, I think, is a bigger question, but I certainly think there's a tactical opportunity here for that small cap space.
I want to talk a little bit about the rest of the world, too. I want to talk specifically about China. Of course, those markets in mainland China, they reopen tomorrow after a week-long holiday. And you have some people saying that basically all this euphoria that we're seeing, this optimism that we're seeing in the wake of that strong stimulus package, maybe it's looking a little bit overdone. How are you viewing China markets in isolation, but also as they filter through the rest of the world?
Right. I think for China, that's absolutely true. We need to see implementation, we need to see magnitude, and I think we've become accustomed over previous years that you see this wonderful announcement when it comes to implementation. It's really disappointing, so that's always the risk. But I think what we're hearing from policymakers is a real commitment or an acknowledgement that there is an urgency about the situation. And that in itself is positive, which when you couple that up again with cheap valuations, I think it's room for a push. Are you going to see another 20% move in 1 week? I think that's unlikely because you start to now see action and proof coming through. But I think over the coming months, I think there is still some movement for China. And to your next point, how it feeds through to the rest of the world, particularly Asia, so Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, these are all areas that we think we can do well. Europe, I think, is probably another story, a different slight question, maybe some upside for some of the luxury brands. I think European story is a little bit weaker from a fundamentals perspective.
But with all that said, where do you put the marginal dollar? If you had to choose between Chinese equities or U.S. equities at the point where valuations look high, right? They look quite stretched in both regions after the run-up you've recently seen. Where does that extra dollar go?
It's a great question because, as you said, we can talk about the U.S. market looking really extended, but it's not like it's the only market which is looking expensive. But I still think China has still got attractive valuations. It makes sense to maybe to plug it into some segments of the China market, but also other parts of EM which do stand to benefit. So there are...
Okay, talk about China. I don't know. I still think China's in deflation. Look at this. CNN Greed and Fear Index. We're literally like one little smidgen edge away from extreme greed. And everybody's like, oh, the rally's going to keep going. The rally's going to keep going. These are the times that I don't want to buy. It just seems like the risk reward is way worse right now. But anyway, market momentum is at greed. Stock price strength is at extreme greed. Breadth. So the amount of stocks rising versus declining at extreme greed. Puts and call ratio, greed. VIX is neutral, but that's how you get your correction, is you get a VIX spike. And the VIX oddly is rising here. Kind of interesting. Safe haven demand. Well, yeah. People are dumping safe havens. So you're at this extreme greed level. They just look like junk bonds. A little bit of fear over here. Widening spreads. But otherwise, this is a pretty greedy market. Somebody says, good news, the hard landing forecasters got it wrong. The funny thing is, I also keep seeing stuff like this. People are like, oh, the markets are going to keep going up. Bears are wrong, bears are wrong, bears are wrong. And it's like, it's going to take another 6 months for it to play out. Might be declaring victory a little early there, eh? Oh well. And I'm the king of early. Like, I hear about it all the time. I'm always early. Lauren agrees.
Eat. That is another reason this stock higher because of all the China stimulus and that Macau reliance, Sonali. These shares up more than 30% over the last 2 weeks or so.
Abigail, thank you for keeping an eye on what's moving under the hood. Now, coming up, 1 year has passed since the major escalation between Hamas and Israel. We're going to have the latest next. This is Bloomberg.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Israel's attack was a year ago today.
The man who's going to be dealing with this on the Pfizer side to a certain extent is lead director. You know who that is? Shantanu Narayan.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. Shantanu Narayan, of course, the well-known CEO of Adobe.
My God, that's exciting.
Is the lead director here. We're going to start to hear more activist campaigns, in part because the window for nominating directors comes up usually early in the year in many cases. Certainly if you have an annual meeting, let's call it in the spring. And that is the case here. I believe it's a January window. So you kind of want to start your conversations, get moving, see if you make traction, see if you can get what you want with management. If you don't, then you are in a position to obviously nominate.
You get that global blood therapeutic, right?
Yes. They also had that setback with the, right? Wasn't it with the GPT? With
the GLP, and then they also were not able to get as much money yet, the return yet from the Biohaven Nurtec drug they spent $11 billion for. So against that is you're talking about one of the great humanitarian guys of all time. And it really
without
just
a doubt. But $30 billion in cash flow. They spent $60 billion on acquisitions. You've got to get a return. It may still be on the it's all on the come, and maybe it will.
How about buy Pfizer? How about that? How about buy Pfizer?
When we come back this morning, Elon Musk's in the spotlight from this week's Tesla robotaxi event to stumping on the campaign trail with former President Trump. Take a look at the pre-market. We'll get to Tesla. There's some news on Boeing. There's M&A in mining, aerospace, oil and gas. Milton, now a Cat 4. Stay with us.
Oh, Milton, Category 4. Yeah, I'd leave for a Cat 4. Cat 4 and 5, you gotta leave. It's just crazy. North Carolina, you just had, basically tropical storms, tropical depression, but the amount of water that was dumped led to these crazy storm surges. It's very, very sad to see. Just wild. Yeah, well. Okie dokie. So, greedy market. I always like the Warren Buffett quote. Be fearful when people are greedy. It's a good one. It is a great one. All right. Somebody here says, we must all vote for Trump. That is the opinion of Bing with those. I don't know what characters or symbols those are. Would you leave if on the East Coast, Fort Lauderdale? Well, that's a good question. I guess it depends what, I mean, the storms are like 1,000 miles wide, right? And Florida's only like 100 miles wide. So, obviously, the expectation is that it weakens as it comes over land. But Fort Lauderdale, I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess I'd really have to watch the forecast on that one and decide. I've never stayed in a 4 or 5. I mean, like a 3 with 2s and 3s. Unless there was some particular odd threat, generally we stayed for 2s and 3s, and those are usually nothing. What's interesting is, you're down here, so it's not like they're expecting a storm surge on your side, which is good. I don't know if I'd leave on that side. Not, weather advice. I'd certainly leave if I were in Tampa. But I don't think I would leave if I were on the Fort Lauderdale side, or like Weston or Plantation or Broward or whatever. Yeah, see, I mean, I know these can change, and they do. I guess I'd probably decide on Wednesday, really. Because then you could see, like, is the cone gonna, rotate down? Is it gonna get pushed down by another weather system up here? towards you, or is it going to get pushed up and away from you? So I'd certainly be watching it. Just go to NOAA. Just type into Google NOAA hurricane, NOAA, and then hurricane, and then you get your info. Somebody says they're in Clearwater. Yeah, I wouldn't be in Clearwater. Somebody says it'll be too late by Wednesday. I mean, it doesn't take that long to drive out of the state. You know. But fine, Tuesday, you know. My in-laws are in Weston, and we're gonna stay with them. They have generators and everything. Nice. Yeah, I used to live in Weston Hills Country Club over there. It's a beautiful area. Somebody says, I'm in Tampa and I'm not leaving. Ugh. Yikes. Well, good luck. Run from a category 4 and 5. Oh, for sure. It's not so much the you know, what's it called? It's not so much the hurricane. It's the tornadoes they spawn too. I think people forget about that. The top left quadrant, you know, they really push tornadoes. You think we will avoid a recession, but instead get a resurgence of inflation? No, I think there's almost zero chance of a resurgence of inflation. North Carolina resident here. It's worse than anyone can imagine. Cameron Vaughn. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's crazy. Oops. There we go. But Kevin, people in the group chat say Warren Buffett is wrong. Yeah. Yeah, he's selling. He's selling a lot. All right, 10 minutes to the bell. Mm-hmm. Buildings can take the storm. They can take a storm, but not a tornado. You know, a tornado will rip your roof right off, and then you're screwed. You know, people are like, "Oh, I got shutters. It's okay. It'll be fine." It's all fine until it's not. You know, my preference is leave. That's my preference. I don't think there's. You're gonna be stuck without power anyway. Go on a vacation somewhere. You know. Just sucks. Unless you're like Weston dude over here with the generators. We always had little tiny generators. Never had a big one. Couldn't afford it. And it sucked. But everybody comes together and just plays board games without power. It's just hot. No AC. Florida, no AC, no fun. Not fun.
Because you care about robotaxis, you care about robotics.
Somebody says, I'll just go in the attic. Yeah, then comes the flooding. That's the thing. That's like, I know you're being facetious, but that's exactly what happens is, you know, the flooding comes and then people get trapped in their attic as the water comes. It's terrible. Really, really sad. Yeah. Is Househack looking for a rental property in Maine? Wow. 16 acres? Yeah, no, man. Too far away for us. Well, I do wonder how power walls would do if things were flooding. Probably not good. Probably not good. Somebody here says, my house was just flooded by 2 feet of water from the inside, from the ocean. They're expecting the storm surge to be double in Pinellas County for this hurricane. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, that's not good. Curious about Disney's parks in Florida. Yeah. Very, very in the middle of Florida, but again, Florida's not that wide. Iranian island, Google Street View. I know, I'm like, I gotta check. I mean, just in case. Sometimes they even put pictures up, though. Yeah. It's not so much the, what's it called? The, that they have the street view driving around. Oh, well, I mean, it's pretty rare you get these storm surges. That's why you don't build Florida on stilts. You know, these, like, I mean, I don't think, you know, in the time that I lived in Florida, we ever had some of the surges that we've seen here. That was like 16 years. Some of these things are just very rare. I mean, if you're constantly flooding, of course, that's when you're on stilts. All right, 6 minutes to the bell. Powerwall 3 is rated to be submerged up to 2 feet. And I mean, like, does it still work? Oh, look at that. Tesla Powerwall submerged. Stay out of the water. Turn off the Powerwall. Quick 30-second video shows somebody putting the Tesla Powerwall in a fish tank and continues to operate. Yeah, and then you rust it out and you're like, oh, I wonder what happened to my $8,000 battery. Why is it rusted? Will inflation data this week be the catalyst for bonds, says Ben? Who knows? Oh, a lot of people talking about wanting to sell their real estate. Sand and electricity, no, well, yeah. So he says, I live in Fort Lauderdale. You have 9 power walls? My God. Just for 9 power walls alone, you probably spent like 80 grand. Jeez. Yeah, exactly, Tim. That's what I'm saying. That was my experience as well. Lived in Fort Myers my whole life. Never had an issue with flooding until the last 2 years. Yep. Yep. Totally agree. Crazy. Yeah, Musk jumping around on that Trump stage this weekend. Boy, that was odd. What do you think about the state of old school RuneScape? I don't even know what the current state of old school RuneScape is. But I just watch Settled sometimes on YouTube. Settled. He's great. Let's see. 9 Powerwalls LMFA. Thanks, Obama. Says so. All right, 3 minutes to go until the bell. Elon being cringe as usual. Yikes. Swampletics, exactly. All right. Somebody says they're shorting Palantir at the open. Let's see how that movement's going. All right, let's take a look what we got here. All right. So Tesla's down 20 bips, Palantir's down 20 bips, Amazon's down 1.6 on this layoff talk, FICO's flat, small caps 26, Nvidia in phase, nominally negative, bond yields are up, Bitcoin's trying to move up a little bit off 63,000. Qs are down about 39 basis points, Home Depot 71. What else? Redfin, 54 bips. Walmart, 26. Ubiquity. Okay. Restoration Hardware, 1.5 to the downside. Dell's back at 120. Wow. That's a scam. Amazon's down 44. Everything's a scam. Oracle down 24. Meta's almost $600. Watch Meta run today. It's crazy. Crazy. Run. Tesla, what are you doing? All right. What do you think of Meta's new glasses? Could it be game-changing? I haven't really looked at them, honestly. I heard they're very similar to the Apple ones, just much cheaper. Meta glasses, or what are they called? VR. It's their new, like, VR thingy or whatever. What? And, yeah, honestly, I just haven't looked at it. Is it the Quest 3? Is that what it is? No, it can't be that. Is it that? Maybe it is. Because they make it look very similar to the, oh yeah, new. Meta Quest 3S. Pre-order starting at $299. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. And I think they have the built-in battery. So we have the old Meta Quest, which, it's nowhere near the quality of the Tesla or the Apple one. But, oh, wow. Yeah, they're really trying to take a lot of the Apple features here. That's funny. All right, let's get the bell.
Starbucks by any means.
Oh, Meta Orion. Okay, thanks. I'll look at that.
Let's get the opening bell here and the CNBC real-time exchange and the big board. It is Oracle, software company, and at the NASDAQ, Sanofi celebrating 1 million patients on Dupixent, which of course treats eczema, COPD, asthma, and some other ailments.
Pretty red open there. Yeah, oh, that's interesting. Just glasses. Now that I like. That's fantastic. Yeah, because it's just, like, honestly, the problem with the big headsets is they're just too heavy. Way too freaking heavy. And you can't really... I mean, this looks pretty laggy. I imagine that's just, you know, current sort of demos or whatever, but good for them. Okay, NVIDIA is wanting to rocket. Look at NVIDIA going up to 125 over here. Big old rocket on NVIDIA. Palantir went positive there for a brief second. Let's see if NVIDIA can hold on to some of it. Let's go to the 1 minute on Bitcoin. Kind of all over the place. And the Qs. Slightly red again. And let's see here. Tesla poopy-dooping a little bit. Down, what, 70 basis points now here. Oof. 80 basis points now. Yikes. Down 1% now. I mean, you're going into Robotaxi Day here. I mean, that's going to be your real game changer. 10-10. It's a matter of, like, how much, you know, do you have priced in enthusiasm-wise. So then you've got NVIDIA wants to just keep running today. NVIDIA's your runner. Amazon, Tesla down a bit. And yeah, Bitcoin dropping a bit. The Qs are actually trying to go up. So is that NVIDIA and Apple and maybe and Meta? No, it's not Apple. They're almost down 1%. So it's really NVIDIA that seems to be pulling the Qs up right now. Okay. What else? Redfin's down. Dave & Buster's down a bit. DJT, 1740. Boy, that had some big selling there for a while and started recovering a bit. $23 on Robinhood. AMD just went flat. Oh, AMD's red candling. Yeah. There's some real volatility there. Look at that. Yeah, Palantir down 70 basis points now. Tesla keeps going. 1.5 down. Amazon's actually kind of stable. You know, I also was surprised with how Enphase just keeps getting tanked. It's kind of crazy. Somebody says Meta all-time. Oh, yeah, look at that. Meta 600. Damn, bro. Holy smokes. Yeah, still a big drop there on Apple. Yeah, Enphase just getting reamed right now. All right, let's listen in here for a moment.
It's fair. We have the Subway series. We have the Squawk series going on.
Schefter said he's just cleared. Schefter said Rogers is cleared for this weekend. Is that good or bad?
That's great.
And
it's going to just go great.
Your wide receiver went off this weekend.
Yeah, Wilson is fine.
Well,
price
how
on
about
Wilson.
that Air Products?
You want to talk Air Products now?
No, I want
You're
to talk
excited
football,
to talk
but
about
I wanted
it?
to throw you.
Let's do it.
Here.
Let's do it. Let's talk Air Products because the stock is up almost 7%. Industrial gases is the business. Yeah, not that exciting, you may think, and not something we necessarily talk about that often. We are this morning because, again, the stock is up almost 7%. This Sun reports late Friday from the Wall Street Journal that Mantle Ridge, a hedge fund run by Paul Halal, very nice.
So you're getting a bit of a recovery right now from some of that selling. Amazon's still down 2.2. Tesla only now 1.25, trying to go green here a little bit. Enphase trying to get some green as well. Meta's now at 602. It's impressive. And Nvidia ran up 1.5 now.
You want to get ready here if you're going to nominate directors because the nominating window will be opening up, in a number of months. Here, the frustration is with the CEO to a large extent, and what has been a strategy, Jim, in terms of pursuing the production of green and blue hydrogen through huge projects that require enormous amounts of CapEx, but are not yet returning significant or any returns. I'm talking Saudi Arabia, Louisiana, and I want to obviously hear everything you've got on this, Jim. But, the company has sort of bet itself to a certain extent that the price on hydrogen will be far higher in the future, and they have not signed off. And again, this is at least some shareholders saying on these offtake deals that you typically would to reduce just how much you spent or get a return. They haven't brought in partners. They haven't essentially shifted capital allocation in a significant way. And so you've got that frustration in terms of the big bets they're making without the return yet, based on the idea that the price of hydrogen is going to be far.
All right. I don't care about hydrogen, honestly, right now. I care about, are we going into a recession or not? So, yield curve right now, 2.5 uninverted. It's crazy, though. Not ideal. 2.5 uninverted there. Then you've got, let's see here. Elizabeth Warren's trying to put a stop to shrinkflation. Oh, okay. All right, got a little recovery coming here. Looks like, look at that. Yep, there's that recovery, which we talked about 4 minutes ago starting. It has continued. Recovery in Tesla. It's only down about 60 basis points now. There's the recovery in Palantir. Amazon, though, keeps falling. Nvidia's doing just fine. Meta capped out. Wow, Nvidia's doing great. Enphase stopped falling. Bitcoin rotating down a wee bit there. A little turbulent, eh? I mean, you are going into earnings, so it's not like the biggest surprise as you go into earnings that there's going to be some nervousness. So, kind of excited to see what happens with earnings. I'm excited. Obviously, we'll cover those. Let's see here. U.S. Supreme Court declines to hear singer R. Kelly's challenge to 2022 sex crimes. Declines to hear Biden administration's bid to enforce federal emergency abortion requirements in Texas. Rejects appeal by former Chicago Bank CEO convicted of bribery in 2016 case. Declines to hear challenge by Elon Musk's ex involving judicial order that barred company from informing Donald Trump of social media account probe. Oops. U.S. Supreme Court turns away pharma bro Martin Shkreli's appeal. They just don't want to do any work. I'm just kidding. But they don't want to do any of that, apparently. Damn. A long list of no's there. Oops. Oh, well. All right. What else? Apple, you keep bleed Apple? Well, Nvidia keep going up. Small caps. 0.5% down. You really can't get past this level that you've been at. If you look in the week chart, we've been here before. So a little boat you got. You look at the super micro. What's there to see about you, super micro? Somebody here says Palantir will always trade at a premium, whether you like it or not. Yeah, I disagree with that. Palantir had plenty of time selling at a massive discount. And one day it'll sell at a massive discount again. The question is, will you buy it then? Super Micro! NVIDIA AI Summit today? Ooh. Let's see here. Warren makes things shrink, that's for sure. Oh. DJT now 7%. Nice. Yeah, it was Wells Fargo that did the Amazon downgrade. Yeah, I mean, I like Amazon a lot. Should I sell Palantir covered calls? Hey, you probably get some good volatility on it. Somebody says Palantir's undervalued. Oh, okay, yeah, Palantir's undervalued with like a 5 peg. Yeah. Yep. Maybe go back to valuation class. Okay, so let's see what Palantir's volatility is right now. It's actually on the lower end in terms of volatility, so not necessarily going to fetch the highest premium on sold calls. Somebody sells small caps sucking, and NVIDIA is going bananas. Ooh. How do they... I feel like they have like an AI day every week. Let me see what's going on with NVIDIA. NVIDIA. I don't see anything on it. NVIDIA events. I don't see any NVIDIA event. Maybe I'm missing something. Oh well. Alright, what do we got over here?
Look at that stock.
What? Well, that's AI. They changed their pricing by the minute.
It's not Flow
Because
and
of generative
Jamie, it's AI, really?
Yeah, they changed the price by the minute. So you do watch sports. If you know Flow, you watch sports.
Of course I watch
Or,
sports.
you know,
I love
David.
sports. I just don't have it. I don't have the NFL in my brain every half second.
See, for me, Flow means flowers, foods.
Really?
Yeah.
FLO.
Yeah.
FLO. Yeah, is that what it is?
Milton to go category 5? Gee. If it goes 5, that's nasty. Type in NVIDIA AI Summit. Oh, yeah. October 7th. Oh, in DC. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're right. That is cool. NVIDIA AI Summit. Wow. Cat 5. Let me see. NOAA Hurricane Center. Let's do wind speed probabilities chart. Oof. I want the actual speeds though. Oh, here's your storm surge map. Yikes, it's a whole coast. Static cone. Yeah, they don't tell you on this what they think about the category. Arrival times, wind speed probability. I looked at that. Peak surge. I wish they'd give us that. Tell us what category they think. But if this ends up being a 5, printer friendly graphic, that's nasty. That's really, I would absolutely get the hell out of there for a 5, no question of that. It just spawns so many tornadoes. Yeah, I've seen the devastation of just what the tornadoes do. It's like you'll go through a neighborhood after a hurricane, and there are just parts of the neighborhood that are totally fine, and then these like random zigzags that are completely demolished. And it's like, tornado. Yeah. Not good. Wind speed, hurricane wind speed probability. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, it's got a huge path ahead of it, and you're going to get hurricane winds. Wonder if it'll weaken when it hits the edge of the coast here. But I imagine that's already predicted in. What a mess. What a mess. What a mess. All right. So what do we got? Supermicro's hanging out now at 2.25. Nvidia capped out at about 1.5. Apple's still down 80, 90 bips here. Meta, wow, it really gave up its rally there. Hit all-time highs there, 603 for a moment. It's almost negative, honestly. Look at this. You're at 19 bips now. Palantir, wow, Palantir down 1.7%. Tesla dropping 1.4%. Amazon's almost down 3%. Small caps 0.5%. Celsius is down. They were green in pre-market too. Enphase is trying to recover a little bit. Bond yields look like they're recovering a little bit. Bitcoin popped a little bit. I mean, it was well timed because I was just about to hit the Qs, and that is kind of sad. Wow. Wow. What was this? Carnival. Oh, Carnival's up a little bit. I'm gonna mess up their weather, their sailing schedule, I feel like. Now, let's see what other news there is. It's the hurricane. It's scary. Why is Netflix selling off to someone? You know their earnings are Friday. Is it Friday? I think it's Friday. Workday billionaire bored silly. Chases another IPO. Doesn't want to retire. That sounds familiar. Okay. Anything else? Let's look at the interest rate probabilities. World interest rate probability. 85% chance of a cut right now. So you're less than certain. That's crazy. Wow. All right. Very well. What's oil? Oil's up 1.5%. Gold's flat. Inversion's still about 2.5%. Ugh. Or 2.5 basis points is actually the way to put it. All right. Well, what else? Somebody here says, to the moon. I'm working out and you scared the crap out of me with the crying baby. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push the button. Yeah, I have the soundboard kind of like in a weird position to where I can accidentally hit it. You know, I'll just lower the volume on it so that doesn't happen. There you go. Buy the dip. See, that now it's too quiet though. Oh, wow. Somebody here says, I'm currently evacuating as we speak in my Tesla Model Y. Wow. Yikes. Category 5 is Katrina strength. Oh, it depends where. So I actually lived through Hurricane Katrina, but it was a Category 2 when it went through Florida. So Katrina was a nothing burger for Florida. And that's because it came over Florida, then re-strengthened in the Gulf as a 5, and went into Louisiana and broke the levees. So, really interesting. Somebody here says, Enphase is right. Oh, wow, Enphase gained the lead. Wow, Enphase. Yeah, that Israel strike's coming probably soon. Anyway, all right, folks, gotta go. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to go to the course member live stream. If you have any questions, email us at staff@mekevin.com. Thanks to all those of you who joined in the last 24 hours here. See you in the course member live, and let's push the button.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial advice nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purpose of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services which we may benefit from. I personally operate and actively manage ETF and hold long positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to issuers other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker.
Some excitement there on Bitcoin and Supermicro. Bitcoin and Supermicro have some enthusiasm right now. And Enphase keeps trying to run up as well. Hims and hers. Wow, look at that, 11%. They were up like 6% just a few minutes ago. Ooh. Ooh. All right, folks. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you in the